Hey everybody, welcome back to the Balanced Vibes podcast. I'm your host, Kirsten. Today we're talking about 5 nutrition myths that have to go because they do more harm than good. So this is what we're going to dive into today. Before we do that, I want to make sure that you know about my Facebook group, which is called Fit and Fueled. And this is meant for women who have a muscle building, fat loss goal, who want to get strong, and who don't want to diet all the time. Because let me tell you, you can get great body composition changes also when you're not dieting all the time. Ladies, we have to get out of this cycle of eating 1,600 calories all the time. This is not what's going to give you your results. So Fit and Fueled is a fun Facebook group. I am there every single Monday doing live video and of course throughout the week sharing other helpful materials. And just yesterday I talked in my group, and by the way, these videos are available only in my group. I talked about how to make your workouts actually effective so that they start giving you visible change, right? So that you can look in the mirror and tell, yes, things have changed. Because this is many women's goal. But now if it's not happening, we are working out hard, we are putting in the time and effort, and it's not happening. This is frustrating, and I don't want this for you. So yesterday's live was about that, but I have done a lot of other lives talking about intermittent fasting, why I don't support that. We've talked about carb cycling. We've talked about all kinds of things over there. And these videos are only available in my Facebook group. So make sure that you join this group if you want to be part of it. All right, so let's move on to today's topic and talk about the 5 nutrition myths that do more harm than good. And of course, there are way more nutrition myths out there than these 5, but I wanted to tell you about the most important ones, in my opinion, because I really want to make sure that your diet is mostly very nutrient dense, right? So that you're getting the vitamins and minerals that you want. But if you follow these outdated old nutrition myths, then there's a good chance that your body is not going to get everything and will be missing out on some things. And this is why I really want to talk about it. Some of these myths are still common, and some of them are really common, especially in the fitness and dieting space. So I feel like you have to know about them. Before I even go into those 5 points that I have for you today, I want to help you to understand, like, how do you know which foods are actually better? Like, how do you decide this is good for me, this is bad for me? So first of all, I'm not a big fan of like good and bad, because I think there's a lot of gray area too, and a lot of it is mindset too. Do we need to label everything like, eat this and don't eat that? I don't like actually going this way. But that said, there are foods that are definitely nutritionally way more valuable than others. And the simplest way to figure that out is to think, did this food come from nature? Does it exist in nature? And is it close to its original form? So to give you an example, sometimes we hear things like, oh, don't eat carbs. You cannot have apples because, oh my goodness, carbs, right? You can't have fruit. Fruit is bad for you. Bananas, nope. Apples, nope, absolutely not. You can't do that, right? But then you could get a keto bar, right? You could go to a store and buy a bar that's in a wrapper and has the word keto on it, and suddenly this is now healthy. So now when we think about it, what has better nutrient quality? Probably the apple or the banana. I'm not talking about exactly like, does it have this or that macro? I'm talking about generally speaking. Now, are we really believing that apple is bad or banana is bad just because it has carbohydrates? So it's way easier. It makes much more sense to think about it this way. Did it come from nature? Another thing that you can think about, for example, you could compare like a hot dog, and you can compare it with a piece of steak. Which one is closer to its original form? Well, definitely steak is closer to its original form. So yeah, probably a good idea to eat that. And as you're going to notice today, out of these 5 myths that I have, some of them are actually, the old myths are telling you to avoid some of those very healthy, natural foods. And I want you to be aware of that and not believe that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that maybe you saw recently came out this news about the most nutrient dense foods and the best or the healthiest foods. Of course, I think it was even supported by a government, and it has these graphs there that show this food is excellent for you, great, healthy, consume that, and this food is bad for you. So at the top of the list, right at the very top, I don't know if it was exactly the first one, I don't have it in front of me because I don't like to look at that stuff, it's just depressing, but somewhere high on that list was like frosted wheats or frosted flakes or whatever that crap is, right? And then way bottom was steak. So can we really trust this information? Can we really trust what's being put in front of us? And I mean, I don't think anybody takes it seriously, but maybe I'm just blind. Maybe people do take it seriously. Just wanted to mention, just in case when you see this stuff, just because it's government thing, it does not mean at all that is true. That is no, absolutely not. So be very critical of the information that you're taking in. Take everything with a grain of salt, and use your common sense. Use literally this way of thinking. Did this come from nature? Cool, probably healthy. And this is not to say that you cannot have any foods that come in a wrapper, right? So maybe there's a keto bar out there that is just like, I like the flavor of it, so I might have it once in a while. Not a big deal. I'm not saying this is not like a yes or no thing, good or bad thing, avoid this and only eat that thing. This is not it. But it's just like when we're trying to make a decision here, hey, is this healthy? Is this nutritionally valuable for me? Or is this one better? Then obviously the things that come in wrappers and have, labels and things on them are, generally speaking, less valuable, and what comes from nature is more valuable. All right, so shall we finally get started with those 5 nutrition myths that do more harm than good? Yes, let's do it. So the first one is actually not food, it's about water. And you may have noticed that there's this big push always to drink more water. Just drink more water. Just drink more water. And a common recommendation is even drink a gallon of water every day, right? Because you have to hydrate yourself. But you know that if you drink so much water, what you're doing is peeing out a lot of the essential minerals that you need to have in your body. So why do we need minerals? In order to absorb food, the nutrients from food. This is just one of the many reasons. You need minerals for so many, like every system in your body needs minerals. And now when we're drinking a gallon of water every day, we go to pee nonstop, like 25 times a day, we're going to pee most of it out, right? So be really careful with that. I personally like to put trace minerals in my drinking water. I use the brand Concentrate. I have no affiliation with them, but I like to use the product, and I also like to use adrenal cocktails, which is also high in minerals. The way I make adrenal cocktails is that I'm mixing citrus fruits. I've been using lemon lately, mixing that with coconut water, which is high in potassium, and then add a little bit of good quality salt. So this is the basic recipe. It can be any other citrus fruit too. You can do lime, you can do orange, whatever you like. And then that pinch of salt, don't forget that, because that's also rich in minerals. And then you mix it together and you drink it. I personally like to also put like a packet of Element in there. Element is an electrolyte powder that I absolutely love and use myself too all the time. And then the trace minerals. So this is a really high mineral drink, and I love it. So make something like this and then drink water and still put those mineral drops in your drinking water as well. And of course, I really hope that you filter your water. This is really important because regular tap water is generally not good quality at all. A lot of stuff in there that you actually don't want to have in your body. So make sure that you filter your water. I personally use a Greenfield filter in my home. I used to have Berkey for a long time, but then based on newer things that have come out, I decided to switch to Greenfield, and now I use that instead, and I think it's great. Another reason that you may have heard people say just drink a lot of water is that some people say then you just take more steps throughout the day because you have to go to the bathroom all the time. And yeah, it's a nice idea, getting our daily steps, but if this comes at the expense of peeing out all the essential minerals that your body needs, then it's not such a good advice at all. So don't trust that. Go for a walk instead and drink your water, but don't go crazy with it. How much to drink? I would say about half of your body weight in ounces. So if you do that, you're good. And it can, of course, include also those adrenal cocktails that I mentioned. So if you drink 1 or 2 of those a day, then include those in your fluid intake as well. There's no reason to overdo it. You just don't have to overdo this. And by the way, just plain water isn't really that hydrating at all. So add those minerals in there. Okay, so the second myth that you may have heard, I'm sure you have heard, is that red meat is bad for you. It's giving you cancer and heart issues and all that kind of stuff. And this is also not true. When we look at the facts, like what is inside a piece of red meat, you see that it's very rich in B vitamins, right? Zinc, iron, creatine, of course, which is something a lot of people use for their muscle health and muscle growth, right? And of course, great protein. And when you talk about macronutrients, it's just packed with all the nutrients. And the story that it's bad for you is supposedly based on this study, right? That those people kind of reference to. But there was this study that showed that red meat gives you cancer. Well, some of the things that the study didn't take into account was the lifestyle of those people who consumed red meat, and also they didn't take into account the quality of that red meat that they were eating. So, for example, you could have somebody eating hot dogs and smoking and not exercising and not sleeping and not getting any sunlight and not drinking any water. And then we use that kind of person to show that, see, it's causing cancer. Well, was it really that red meat? And of course, the quality of red meat does matter. But was it only that? Or was it the entire lifestyle? So we have to be careful with that. And again, like I said earlier too, not trust everything that we just read online or read on well, nobody ever reads newspapers anymore, I think, but whatever, the mainstream stuff comes out, be a little bit more critical, like when you're thinking. Think about it. Is this really true? And see, how did they come to these conclusions, right? So that's another one to think about. Red meat, great nutrient profile, like I said, and also the vitamins, minerals in it are bioavailable, which means that our bodies absorb them really well. Animal fats found in red meat, also very good. Your hormones love it. You need that animal fat. Your cells need it. So absolutely nothing bad. It doesn't have to absolutely mean that now you're only going to eat the leanest cut of red meat. No, definitely eat some fattier cuts as well. This is good for you. And then final point that I want to make here, talking about red meat, is also start including some organ meats into your diet. So I know this is hard for a lot of people to do because they taste different and we're not used to it. Honestly, I think you can change your palate, and you can, when you start doing it little by little, then I'm not going to say that it's going to be like pleasant. Eventually, you're going to start looking forward to it, or you're going to become like Liver King or somebody. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying that it's going to get easier. And when you understand, you make a connection between, oh, I ate this, I'm feeling better, I'm noticing better energy and all that. When you start making that kind of connection, then you're probably going to start liking it a little bit more too. So I personally eat liver, not every single day, but 4 or 5 times a week for sure. A little bit. It doesn't have to be like a whole chunk, right? A little bit of it. I've done some raw lately. I've been cooking it up because got kind of tired of the raw liver, but the point here is that we used to, like historically, we used to eat the whole animal, and that also included organs. We couldn't afford to throw stuff away just like that, right? So why don't we start inching back towards that? Because this really is very, very healthy for us, especially beef liver. It's hard to find anything that is higher in nutrient density than beef liver. So this is really just like nature's superfood. All right, my next nutrition myth that I want to talk about today is eat just egg whites and ditch the yolks. And this is also very outdated, old information. So egg yolks supposedly are also giving you heart attacks and all these issues and problems with your arteries and whatever, right? But egg yolk is the most nutritious part of the egg. It has choline and cholesterol, which, yes, you do need cholesterol too. It has vitamin D and vitamin A, zinc, copper, iron, all the good things. So again, it's another similar real food, multivitamin, right? And it's important that you include egg yolks also into your diet, not just egg whites. And this is, again, something that fitness industry has told us all the time. Egg whites, it's high in protein and no fat, and, making those like egg white spinach scrambles or omelets or whatever, just so that you now get away with a little bit less fat, but you're also going to leave out the most nutrient dense part of the egg. So this is definitely another myth. I really like seeing eggs in people's food logs. When I look at them, I'm like, yes, good. You're getting a lot of good quality nutrition there. So keep going. So this was my big point as well. It's whole eggs, not just egg whites. And by the way, you can throw egg whites in to add protein to your meals. For example, when I make oatmeal, then I might add some egg whites. I usually do add some egg whites to increase the protein, because otherwise oatmeal will be just carbohydrates, right? We know that. Or I might add some to my scrambled eggs, but I'm still eating the egg yolks too, right? So I'm just adding a little bit of egg whites to make kind of boost the nutrient density, getting more macronutrients, getting more protein, and a little bit more volume to my food. So this is why I would use it, but that doesn't mean that I will throw away the most nutrient dense part, the egg yolk. All right. The next myth that I want to talk about here today is this universal statement that dairy is bad for absolutely everybody and we should not eat it, right? So, again, this is something, think about it, came from nature, right? It came from a cow, right? It can't be more closer to nature than that, really. So, milk, whole real milk, raw milk especially, is really great in vitamins, minerals, there's bioavailable calcium. It is a complete protein, right? And you get pretty much all the fat soluble vitamins in milk as well. And it's again super nutrient dense. We've been just scared away from it, and a lot of the recommendations are now, replacing real whole milk with those so-called nut milks, which you cannot compare the nutrient density. Again, if you put them side to side, you see that those nut milks, which are actually not milk, right? They're just drinks made out of nut. They just have the same color as milk or kind of similar color as milk, but that doesn't mean that they are actually milk, right? So oftentimes there's a lot of additives and preservatives in those nut milk products, and it's not nowhere near as good quality as, for example, raw milk. What's interesting about raw milk is that a lot of people who cannot do regular store-bought dairy, right, then which is homogenized and pasteurized and all that, they actually can drink raw milk. The catch here is that a lot of states don't allow that. And again, we can think about why is it this way? That one of the most nutrient dense food is just taken away from us. It's literally illegal in some places. You can't have that. At the same time, you can find McDonald's on every corner. So there's something going on there. Why is it this way? Again, think critically, right? What's going on there? So real milk and raw milk especially has vitamin K2, for example, which helps to shuttle the calcium to the right places. For example, where we do want it is our teeth. We want it in our bones, but we don't actually want it in our arteries or kidneys, right? So that vitamin K2 is really great for that. And none of those nut milks, cashew, almond, whatever they all are, they don't have an oat milk. That's a big trend right now, like a flax milk and all that. They don't contain that K2, so you can't have the same benefits. So definitely, if you can get your hands on some raw milk, I really recommend that you try it out. But if you have problems with dairy products, you can't do them, just try it and maybe try really small. Of course, it's your own responsibility. I can't tell you, and I'm not promising that you absolutely can digest it. I don't know that, but I do know that because of the enzyme called lactase, which is found in raw milk, it is easier to digest than regular store-bought milk. So think about it. And also, if you can't tolerate it, there's something up with your gut. So the state of your gut really like determines if you can have milk or not. So maybe there's something to work on there as well. So drink your milk. I absolutely love the one that we use here. It's called the Golden Rule. It is from a local farmer and it tastes amazing. It also makes coffee taste so much better. I put a little bit in my decaf coffee most mornings when I have it, and it's absolutely delicious. And I also like to make shakes with it, adding, whatever I want to add to it. But the flavor is just so different. And by the way, this is, again, I'm not saying that you should never have those nut milk products, right? I think it's fine to have them. And I myself, actually, right now, I have some coconut milk, not the canned one, but the bottled one. I do have it in the fridge right now because the other day we missed our time to order the raw milk and I wanted to make my shake with something that's other than water. So I bought some, and occasionally I do use it, but I do love raw milk so much better because of the health benefits, and just the taste is so much better too. I was really lucky growing up. First thing, I was firstly, I'm used to eating liver, so that's cool. But also, when I was really little, one of our neighbors had cows, and he would always bring us a big 3-liter jar of fresh raw milk and put it on our doorstep. And we would just eat it. We would take the cream from the top and add some sugar and make some whipped cream. It was delicious. Eat it with some fresh strawberries that my mom had grown. So super lucky to have experienced all that. And it's funny, like the things that back then used to be like such a normal common thing, now they have become a rare thing, right? Who eats liver anymore, and where do you get raw milk anymore? You have to go look for it, right? So it's just so interesting to see how the world has changed. So just had to add that in there too. All right. And the last one, the fifth nutrition myth that does more harm than good is to avoid salt. Okay. So why do we need salt? Again, good salt is full of minerals, trace minerals, right? So for example, the one that I like to use, actually use two types. One of them is Redmond real salt. And sometimes I use the pink Himalayan salt. This is the one that I have right now. But for example, Redmond's real salt has 65 different trace minerals in them. 65, that's a lot, right? So we do need them. And there's a big difference between that type of salt and then poor quality that you can often find, in restaurants that are, they're bleached and they're highly processed, and there's not much of those minerals left. So be picky about the quality of your salt, but do eat it. So, for example, if you have frequently symptoms like headaches or dizziness, bloating, constipation, even poor digestion, definitely muscle cramps, even sugar cravings, fatigue, these things can actually cause because you are not getting enough salt with your diet. And so you do need it. And remember, I shared earlier the adrenal cocktail recipe. So that also uses salt in it, but make sure that this is a good quality salt. All right, so these are the 5 nutrition myths that do more harm than good. I'm going to go over them real quick one more time. First thing was to drink a gallon of water every day. No, you don't have to drink that much because remember, you don't want to pee out all the minerals in your body. The second myth was eat just egg whites and not the yolks. No, if you want to have good quality nutrition, you will eat the yolks as well. The third one was red meat is not bad for you. It's actually highly nutrient dense. The fourth one is dairy, right? The myth itself is dairy is bad for you. It's bad for everybody. And again, definitely not bad for everybody. Can be one of the most nutrient dense foods that you can find. And then the last myth was avoid salt because it's bad for you. Well, is it really bad? We just have to choose the right quality of salt. All right. I hope this was helpful for you. Excited to hear your feedback. Thank you so much for listening, and make sure that you join my Fit and Fuel Facebook group. I will see you there. Thanks again, and bye bye.